Good day, everyone. Before our story begins, let's think about fairness and the place it should be in. Students come from backgrounds both different and wide, but fairness means no one should be pushed aside. So listen closely to the message we bring, because fairness in the classroom serves as reminders.
A healthy school culture is built when all students are treated fairly, regardless of their background, ability, and social status. This skit demonstrates how unfair treatment can affect students emotionally and socially, and how fairness promotes respect, equality, and well-being. Key concepts of a positive school culture. Good morning, class.
Good morning, Miss.
Individual assignments are due next week, March the 15th. Amara, I expect nothing but excellence from you, as per usual.
Yes, Miss. Miss,
Yes.
can you explain the assignments again?
It is written on the board. Can you please pay attention?
Sorry, Miss.
Some people always need extra help.
The way in which teachers interact with students influence school culture. The use of fair language when communicating with students promotes a healthy school culture.
Trinidad and Tobago is a multicultural society where students come from different ethnic, religious, and socioeconomic backgrounds. Language practices in schools can either foster inclusion or reinforce social inequalities among students. Treating students fairly ensures no child is marginalized, and teacher words and interactions can shape how students respond and perceive themselves. Words are powerful. Therefore, teachers must use language that supports all students, as their words significantly influence students' confidence, identity, and sense of belonging. Treating students fairly is important because it shapes their confidence, identity, and sense of belonging. According to Deal and Peterson, 1982, culture refers to the way things are done around here. Consistent use of respectful and affirming language helps students develop stronger self-belief and promotes a healthy school culture characterized by trust, inclusion, and mutual respect. Labels such as weak child, problem child, struggling child can be internalized and negatively shape self-perception. According to Vygotsky, 1978, language is a primary tool for learning and development, and students internalize knowledge and the messages conveyed by teachers. Through social interactions, teacher language mediates cognitive and social growth. So fair and affirming language supports learning and inclusion. Bandura's 1977 social learning theory claims that learning occurs through observation and modeling. When teachers consistently model fairness and respect, students are more likely to replicate these behaviors in their interactions with peers, reducing conflict and bullying and fostering a positive school culture. Therefore, by treating students fairly and using language to empower and motivate students, educators help them to recognize their potential, fostering cognitive growth. This is supported by the humanist learning theory, Rogers' 1969, which reinforces the idea that learning involves the whole person, focusing on motivation, emotions, and self-esteem. When teachers recognize each student's individuality and potential, they help students to develop self-confidence, intrinsic motivation, and a sense of belonging. Key principles of the humanist learning theory and a healthy, inclusive school culture. Treating students fairly promotes a healthy school culture through modeling, interactions, and the establishment of shared norms. According to G, 1999, the small d discourse refers to language in use or common verbal interactions. This includes the tone used, the way feedback is given, and how corrections are addressed. Fair and respectful use of small d discourse in classrooms shapes both students' experiences and the school identity, promoting inclusion, belonging, and shared values. Affirming language makes students feel respected, valued, and supported, fostering engagement, self-confidence, and a safe classroom environment. Equitable language across the school creates a culture where students feel capable, supported, and included despite their backgrounds. Ultimately, fair and inclusive language becomes embedded in school norms, cultivating a healthy, inclusive school culture.
I try my best, but sometimes I just don't understand right away.
Miss always expects me to be perfect, and sometimes that's real pressure.
When students are treated differently, it affects their self confidence, motivation, and self esteem. Even positive favoritism are unfair when others are treated differently.
Some people just aren't serious about school.
I just wake up every morning to help my little sister prepare for school. Not everybody have that same situation. Some people just won't understand.
Sociology teaches us that students come from different backgrounds. Fairness means understanding those differences, not judging them.
Treating all students fairly, regardless of their background, is not simply an expectation of teachers. It is a sociologically informed action that directly supports the promotion of a healthy school culture. Caribbean societies are deeply diverse and historically shaped by inequality. In Trinidad and Tobago and across the wider Caribbean, classrooms reflect a mixture of ethnicities with varied religious traditions. Students also come from different socio-economic backgrounds, family structures, and communities. Because of this diversity, fairness is not optional, but rather it is necessary. Without conscious effort, social inequalities that exist in the wider society can easily be reproduced in schools. Within the foundation area of sociology, education is understood as a powerful social institution, shaped by daily interactions and hidden systems of inequality. Schools are social institutions that prepare students for the roles they will take up in society, and education is the means by which social cohesion can be attained. Fairness emerges not as an optional virtue, but as a necessary strategy for creating an inclusive and cohesive school environment. Emile Durkheim, 1984, developed a perspective known as functionalism, which explains how institutions, values, and rules are interconnected. He describes society as being like a living organism, just like how all the varying organisms in the human body work together to keep us alive. So too in schools, the administration, teachers, students, and support staff all need to work together since each component has a specific function, and when they all work together in cohesion, a healthy school culture will be attained. In schools, students learn acceptable behavior, respect for authority, and responsibility through their experiences. Therefore, this action of treating all students fairly, regardless of their background, is relevant and important because if some learners are favored because of socioeconomic status, ethnicity, family background, or academic inclinations, the message conveyed is not one of unity, but rather one of inequality. Fair treatment ensures that socialization promotes belonging and shared values rather than division. At the same time, the conflict theory or Marxist perspective associated with Karl Marx 1848 challenges the assumption that schools are neutral spaces. Conflict theorists argue that social institutions can reproduce existing inequalities by privileged dominant groups. This is where the work of Pierre Bourdieu 1986 becomes particularly relevant. Bordeaux's concept of cultural capital explains how advantages linked to social class can appear natural or deserved, when in fact they reflect broader structural inequalities. His assertion that the function of sociology, as of every science, is to reveal that which is hidden, challenges educators to look beneath the surface of performance and recognize these invisible influences. Students may enter the classroom with differing levels of access to resources, varying linguistic expressions such as dialect and standard English, and diverse family structures. Without sociological awareness, teachers may unconsciously privilege students who conform to dominant norms. Treating all students fairly therefore becomes an intentional act of resistance against structural inequality. Importantly, fairness does not mean treating every student identically. Sociology reminds us that students do not begin from the same starting point. Equity may require differentiated instruction, additional academic support, or culturally responsive teaching strategies. Providing extra assistance to a struggling learner is not favoritism, it is an effort to level the playing field. By recognizing structural differences and responding thoughtfully, teachers promote both justice and cohesion, which in turn promotes a healthy school culture.
Late again, detention.
I had to have noticed this already.
Rules are rules. Good morning. Take your seat.
In HFLE, we teach empathy, equality, and respect. Fairness means applying rules consistently and speaking to students with dignity. Now the principal will address the staff on HFLE interventions.
According to CARICOM, Caribbean Community and Caribbean Market, Health and Family Life Education, HFLE, is a comprehensive life skills-based program designed to develop the whole person, enabling students to acquire the knowledge, attitudes, and skills needed to make healthy decisions, build positive relationships, and function effectively in society. Treating all students fairly, regardless of their background, is both a moral imperative and a practical necessity in the delivery of HFLE. HFLE covers sensitive topics such as sexual and reproductive health, mental well-being, relationships, substance use, and family dynamics. Therefore, HFLE has the potential either to empower learners or to reinforce stigma and exclusion. Fairness matters because students enter HFLE with varied lived experiences, including different family structures, levels of ability, socioeconomic circumstances, and exposure to trauma. A one-size-fits-all approach risks making the curriculum irrelevant or harmful. However, when HFLE is delivered fairly by recognizing differences and reducing barriers, students are more likely to engage in classroom activities. Equitable classroom climates where students feel respected and safe encourage better attendance, higher student engagement, and lower incidences of bullying and exclusion. Tailored interventions that accommodate disability, language needs, or socioeconomic constraints further support participation. Fairness also cultivates social emotional benefits by reducing stigma and supporting self-confidence. By acknowledging diversity, teachers make HFLE relevant, accessible, and protective for all learners. HFLE also promotes a healthy school environment, particularly where students experience socioeconomic challenges or come from abusive or unstable homes. Through a life skills approach, students develop decision making, problem solving, communication, and conflict resolution skills. These competencies help them manage emotions, deal with peer pressure, and resolve conflicts without violence, allowing them to build resilience and feel a sense of belonging. HFLE also promotes emotional well-being by helping students understand themselves and their relationship with others. Supportive classrooms allow students to express their feelings and build positive identities, especially for those who may experience neglect or abuse at home. Another important contribution of HFLE is addressing violence and abuse. It helps students understand their rights, recognize harmful behaviors, and know where to seek help from trusted adults and institutions. Additionally, HFLE encourages participatory teaching methods such as discussions, role plays, and reflective activities. These allow students to explore real-life situations and practice healthy responses to bullying, peer pressure, and domestic conflict. In conclusion, HFLE promotes a positive school culture by fostering respect, empathy, responsible decision-making, and healthy lifestyles. Through life skills development and supportive teaching practices, HFLE empowers students to overcome challenges and develop into responsible, confident, and healthy members of society.
A healthy school culture cannot exist without fairness.
I didn't realize I was treating my students differently based on my assumption. Hello, class. I want to address something important. I realize I have not been treating everyone equally. Chanel, thank you for explaining your situation. I appreciate your responsibility. To Christal, rules apply to everyone equally. Class, from today, questions are welcome and expectations are fair for all.
Hey, are you ready to start? Okay, let's go.
Chanel, do you want to work together?
Me? Sure. We all have different strengths.
I didn't realize favoritism could be so unfair.
I feel more comfortable asking questions now.
I now understand that background does not determine ability.
This is what fairness looks like.
Treating all students fairly, regardless of their background, promotes confidence, equality, and a healthy school culture. Students, a fair school is a healthy school.
In conclusion, treating all students fairly, regardless of their background, is essential for creating a healthy and inclusive school culture. From the perspective of language, the way teachers speak to and interact with students shapes their confidence, identity, and sense of belonging. As Vygotsky explains, language is a key tool for learning, and through Bandura's social learning theory, students also learn by observing the attitudes and behaviors modeled by teachers. When educators use respectful and affirming language, students feel valued and more willing to participate and engage. From a sociological perspective, schools play an important role in promoting social cohesion. Durkheim explains that schools help develop shared values and cooperation within society. However, scholars like Bourdieu remind us that students come from different social and cultural backgrounds. So, fairness requires teachers to recognize these differences and promote equity in the classroom. Finally, health and family life education supports this by developing life skills such as communication, decision making, and emotional awareness. Together, these approaches help create a school environment where every student feels respected, supported, and able to succeed.
As we now come to the end of our presentation today, we hope the message of fairness will always stay. Students may come from backgrounds both near and far, but fairness reminds us of how equal we are. So let us remember this message wherever we go. Treat every student fairly and watch your potential grow.